What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. My name is Chandler Rome, along with Tyler Stafford. And Tyler, the Astros are on a 108 win pace.
Mhm,
Their starting rotation gave up 2 earned runs in 3 games.
mhm.
Josh Hader has 2 saves. Jordan Alvarez hit the crap out of a ball off the bullpen. Should they order just American League Championship rings, or should they spring for the World Series rings already?
Yeah, I think it's time you wanna get a good deal. I'm sure Balfour could hook them up. That's the official ring sponsor of Texas A&M, so I assume that they do everyone in Texas. So, yeah, I mean, you wanna get a good discount, go ahead and order them just in case.
Do you think Balfour, like, how much money do you think they make off of Aggies? Like, just loving those rings?
I would imagine, no joke, it's like 70% of their business. They came to my high school and tried to get us to buy high school class rings. And for some reason, my parents were like, "Yeah, we'll buy you a high school class ring." And I was like, "I do not want one, but I sure would like a guitar pedal." And I convinced them. I was like, "Well, you were already going to spend money on this ring. How about you get me a guitar pedal instead?" And so that's how I got my Boss ME70 multi effect pedal that I used for a long time. I'm a Helix man now, but that's what I used for a long time. So the two people that play guitar that listen to this will understand and appreciate that.
I was about to say I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah.
None of those words made any sense to me. So the Astros did win their season opening series over the New York Mets. They scored 6 runs in 3 games. The
Hmm.
Mets scored 5 runs, which that's a good sign, I guess.
Hmm.
It was pretty evident, and it's going to be pretty evident across the league that as these games get going, pitchers remain ahead of hitters.
Hmm.
Offense is going to take a little time to get going, except for the Yankees, who hit 9 home runs in a game with those weird bats
Hmm.
on Saturday. But Tyler, we're not just as to kind of set the scene. We're not gonna go game by game, play by play, at bat of Astros Mets. We are going to talk about the series as a whole. And I think maybe the most productive way to do that, to get like an all encompassing look, is to maybe um, let's split it into two things. We'll start with the most impressive things that we saw from the Astros against the Mets, and for me, there was one. There was one sequence. It lasted 12 pitches. The most impressive thing I saw against the Mets was Hunter Brown's first inning
Oh,
on Friday. That was, I don't get stunned by
gross.
much.
Gross.
My jaw, like, if you would have looked at me in the press box, like, my jaw was like on the table.
Dude, same. I mean, that was one of those, like, that's how I imagine Nolan Ryan used to pitch, where it's like, I know I'm going to throw a fastball. I know that you're a professional hitter. I literally do not care. I will throw it past you. I'll tell you where I'm throwing it, and it doesn't matter. I mean, he was just rearing back and pumping gas. Yeah, that was unreal. What was it like in person? I mean, could you hear the seams coming off the ball? It looked so cool on TV.
I mean, and look, the velocity was one thing, the electricity of the stuff was, but let's remember the hitters he was facing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he faced Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto, and you never say this about these two guys. Like, those guys had no chance. Like,
Nope.
Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto were overmatched by Hunter Brown, and then he should have struck out Pete Alonso. He painted 100 on the corner. It was a
Gross.
borderline call, didn't get the call, and then Jake Myers made an incredible catch in center field to save that inning. But just to give you a little perspective on Hunter Brown, he threw 9 fastballs at 98.5 miles an hour or harder. That pitch he painted to Pete Alonso at 99.6 miles an hour was the hardest pitch he's thrown as a big leaguer. He threw 99.2 to Juan Soto, which is his third hardest pitch as a big leaguer. It was interesting to hear him talk after the game, Hunter Brown, that he kind of focused on getting his velocity up this offseason. And that's not something you would think for him, because Tyler, he's had enough velocity. Like, this is a guy that he had, before this season, he'd thrown, I believe, 8 pitches in the big leagues, 99 miles an hour or harder. This is not a guy that lacked for velocity, but he sat at 97 pretty much all game, held the velocity. Look, he, after the first inning, the electricity diminished a little bit. He ended up giving up 3 runs. Only 2 of them were earned. If Brendan Rodgers catches a pickoff throw from Hunter Brown, it's probably a different outing for him. He made a great pitch that Juan Soto hit off the second deck, and that's just you tip your
What
hat
are you
to
going to
him.
do? Yeah. It's
You're
like
not going to do
6 inches above the zone, and he just ripped it.
Yeah, but Hunter Brown, to me, that first inning was as impressive as anything I saw this weekend, and certainly kind of, even though he has the worst line of the 3 starters, you certainly look at him and you kind of start to think that that Cy Young talk in the offseason may have been founded. This could be a guy that really could contend for that award.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was the ease that he was bringing the velocity. Sometimes guys can, pump in 98, 99, but they look like they're just throwing with everything that they've got. And Hunter Brown looked like he was playing catch at 98 miles an hour. I mean, he looked unbelievable.
Do you have what was your most impressive thing that you saw in the Astros series win against the Mets?
Well, I'm going to stay on brand here. Cam Smith's at bats, especially in the second game, that dude looked like a 10-year vet. The way that he was taking pitches that were an inch off the zone, he never flinched. Should have had 3 walks. Rob Drake was doing a Picasso style strike zone in the second game. But I mean, he looked so calm. He looks like he belongs. Like I have no doubt that he's going to be fine. I mean, again, you're going to have ups and downs, but there's a difference between this guy swings really hard and he like gets into one every once in a while and what Cam Smith did. And Cam Smith looked so calm and confident in the 2 games that he played. I truly cannot believe that he looks that good already. It's insane to me.
Do you want an absurd number?
Thank you.
He saw 23 pitches in 4 plate appearances on Friday.
Yeah.
As a 22-year-old kid in his second major league game.
Yeah.
We talked about it on here as we talked about his rise in spring training. We talked about the home runs, we talked about the athleticism, but the thing that intrigued a lot of the coaches was not just the swing decisions he made, but the ease with which he made them and the confidence with which he made them. There was not a ton. There were a couple this weekend that you saw he flinched a little bit. He started to swing and held up. In spring training, you kind of just saw the bat was on his shoulders. He recognized pitches early, was able to lay off spin, was able to lay off things that he knew were going to be not in his zone. He was in control of every at bat. Even, he struck out a couple of times. There was you mentioned he had a looking strikeout that was suspect a little bit with Rob Drake's strike zone. He was aggressive in his first game on opening day, which I think you expected out of him. He hit the first pitch he saw as a big leaguer through the right side for a single. And weirdly, Tyler, that was probably the worst swing he took all weekend. He did what he had to do with the pitch. He kept his hands inside and kind of went the other way, but it was kind of an excuse me swing that just kind of resulted in a seeing eye single. But he'll call it a line drive in the shallow center field for his whole life. But look, Cam looked the part, and I know a lot of people were upset that he didn't play on Saturday. You probably included, but
I'm mad he's not batting first. What are we doing? Get him up there.
But Joe Espada did say that he went into this series wanting to get every position player in and start. So I imagine Cam Smith will be back in there on Monday against the Giants. But yeah, everything you heard about this kid, everything that we talked about, that everyone maybe kind of wondered, is it true? Is it really going to translate? You couldn't watch a ton of spring training games, so you're relying on us and Twitter videos and things. I think you saw that he's a little bit different. He's a little bit different.
He's freaking good. Like, we should make t-shirts that just say Cam Smith is good in like Comic Sans font. That's how I feel watching it. It was like, goodness gracious, this guy is good at baseball. Again, numbers are going to be what they are. I have no idea what it's going to look like. He's good. Yeah. Did you get to see the video of his mom celebrating?
I did. Yeah.
It's great.
Look,
So good.
The Astros have done a very good job this whole time. Not even just with Cam, but they've been since spring training started. I'll give their social media team and I'll give their content team a lot of credit. They've been on the point with a lot of this stuff, and having a camera on her for that
Mhm.
moment was really really a nice touch. And yeah, it was a feel good story all weekend. And
Yeah.
I think the only thing that would have made it better is if he could have gotten a ball over the fence, get his first home run out of the way. But in due time, I think that'll come for him. And even in the outfield,
Yeah.
he looked okay. The one ball that Luis Torrens hit that was ruled a double. I, I'm I think it's tough to say that a good right fielder makes that catch, but you saw kind of where he erred a little bit. That was a right-handed hitter that hit a slice, and Cam even said after the game, he said, I have to get to my glove side quicker. And if he makes that, split second reaction where he can run to his glove side a little bit quicker, he probably catches that ball. But again, growing pains that they're going to go through while playing two pretty inexperienced corner outfielders.
Yeah. He didn't embarrass himself. That's all you can ask for out of him in the outfield right now. Jake Myers made a great catch in center field. Um, I'm assuming that you did not see any of the Apple TV broadcast.
I mean, they had it on the TV above my seat in the press box. I can't hear it, but like I did. I mean, I was looking up and watching it, but I could not hear it. No.
It is head and shoulders above any other broadcast. It looks so good on Apple TV, and the way that you can switch the audio feeds to whatever radio. So I watched the whole game with the Astros radio feed pumped in, and it just looks incredible. They do such a good job. I know people complain when the Astros are on national TV, but the Apple TV broadcast rules, and I hope that they get a lot more baseball games in the near future because it looks phenomenal.
It did, and I mean the quality is great. And look, I don't want to throw shade here, but like you actually got to see replays of things that went against the Astros, like Cam
Hmm.
Smith's mistimed catch on opening day was on Space City Home Network. They did not show a replay of that, much to the chagrin of a lot of people in the press box who were wondering, kind of, hey, like, what did he do wrong? How close was he to catching the ball? Things that could have been instructive to maybe how to write about the game, to how to ask questions after the game. That replay was not shown because, of course, it was something that went bad for the Astros. So heaven forbid you show a replay to the audience that would like to see it. So we mentioned Cam Smith being able to control the zone, being able to see a ton of pitches. Another impressive thing from a guy that got one hit all weekend, Isaac Paredes saw 65 pitches in 12 plate appearances against the Mets. Mauricio Dubon joked to me after the Saturday game, he probably saw more pitches in this series than I saw in the first half of last year.
Probably.
He's probably not far off. You're starting to see why the Astros coveted Isaac Paredes, stretching back to last season's trade deadline. He got one hit. Like let's not bury that lead. Like he got one single. It was a ground ball, kind of had some eyes. Actually, no, it was a ball down the line that Mark
Mhm.
Vientos couldn't get at third base. But the sheer amount of pitches he sees and the type of at bats he takes are what this team missed so much last year. This is a
Yeah.
team that last season saw the fewest pitches per plate appearance of any lineup in the sport. They swung more than any lineup in the sport. They were too aggressive. You saw way too many 8 or 10 pitch innings for opposing pitchers. Um, they needed this offseason to go out and address that. And Isaac Paredes was at the top of their list. That is why they got him. And let's not take anything away from Christian Walker either, who I believe saw 28 pitches in his first 8 plate appearances of the series. Certainly a guy that's, I don't think he's going to put up Paredes level long plate appearances, but is not going to swing out of his shoes at the first thing he sees. We mentioned Cam Smith earlier, seeing 23 and 4. Tyler, this is a lineup. I think Isak Paredes can be contagious. Like seeing that many pitches, not only is it going to make the pitcher work and is going to fatigue the pitcher that the Astros are facing, but it's going to help the guys in the dugout because he can come back and say, look, I just saw everything this guy has to offer because he had to throw me 8 pitches to get me out. That can help. It goes into their iPads. They can look and see what goes on. This can be something that can really change the dynamic of this entire lineup.
Yeah, Christian Walker wins my Kyle Tucker Memorial Bad Luck Award for this series. I mean, he stung like 4 or 5 balls and doesn't have anything to show for it. I've already seen people on Twitter being like, "Oh, Jose Abreu all over again." Jose Abreu never hit anything as hard as Christian Walker did on accident 5 times in this series. He's gonna be fine. Looked really good. Goodness gracious, is he good at first base? Everything he hit over there, it's like a black hole that he just swallowed up. He's gonna be fine. I love an athlete with a gut. So watching Isak Paredes, run around and score a bunch and just look athletic with a gut. I'm a big fan of that. It reminds me of old like Bartolo Colon just pumping gas with the gut. But I mean, Paredes is, man, he looks good.
Yeah, don't insult Isak Paredes. He's not.
That's not an insult. I'm saying I love it. He's an athlete, and I love that. Look, this isn't a modeling competition. That's peak male athleticism right there with a dad bod rocking, and it rules. I'd never lose it. It's clearly a source of his power, and he's fast too. I mean, he's faster than I thought that he would be. He was rounding the bases probably more than anybody else on the Astros. I feel like I saw him run more than anybody else this weekend, and it looks great. Good call, Houston Astros front office. This Cam Smith and Isak Paredes additions looking pretty good so far.
Yeah. And you'll see Hayden Wesneski. The second game against the Giants, maybe all 3 will be on the field at the same time. You'll see Hayden Wesneski pitching, Cam Smith in right field, and maybe Isak Paredes at third base. Maybe you see all 3 remnants of the Tucker trade on the field at the same time. Before we get Tyler into kind of what we didn't like or some things that concerned us, was there one other thing that you thought that really stood out to you in watching these 3 games that can be maybe instructive for the rest of the season?
I did have a fun one. So Baseball Savant is my favorite website. They have a new feature this year, which is the batting stance leaderboard. Have you seen that, where they visualize their? Oh, it's so cool. They visualize where the player stands in the batter's box. Jose Altuve is by far the closest batter to the pitcher. He only has 11 inches of depth in the box. The next closest is 15, and then after that it's like in the 20s. So he stands so much closer to the pitcher than anyone else in baseball, and it's fun to have that validated because that feels true. It feels like he's always just on his tippy toes up at the front of the batter's box, and Baseball Savant allows you to see that now. So I encourage everybody to go check that out. It's fun.
How much money do you think Astros fans or just sports bettors in general collectively lost when Altuve did not swing at the first pitch of the season thrown by Clay Holmes?
What was that? Yeah, come on. That's easy money. I couldn't believe it. What are we doing?
I would have bet a small chunk of my meager salary that he would have swung at the first pitch of the season, but he did not. And overall for Jose Altuve, kind of a nondescript series. He went 5 for 11. They were all singles, and we'll get to that. That most of their hits were singles. So I mean, it was 5 singles, so it's probably not going to generate a ton of headlines. But I mean, he went 5 for 11. He struck out 3 times on opening day, which I think was kind of entrenched in a lot of people's minds, and struck out 1 time in the next 2 games. He's getting there, and I think, like we said, as this pod started, pitching is going to remain ahead of hitting for a little while. So again, I don't think there's any need to worry about Jose Altuve not hitting for not slugging. Jordan Alvarez finally got them off the schneid with a double yesterday in the finale to kind of let people exhale a little bit and see. But Tyler, I think as we start to get into the most discouraging things that we saw against the Mets, I think the lack of slug probably has to be at the top of the list. The Astros got 15 hits in the 3 games. 13 of them were singles. They were the last team in baseball to get an extra base hit. It took them 83 plate appearances before Jeremy Pena snuck a solo home run into the first row of the Crawford boxes on Saturday to give them an extra base hit. Again, it is a very small sample size. It is 3 games. You do not want to draw any grand conclusions, but this is the sample size that we have. And I think if there was something that did concern us when the season started, just about what kind of gave us pause and talking about this team as a legitimate contender, it was the depth of the lineup. It was kind of what's going to happen once you pass the 4th or the 5th spot in the batting order. And you were wondering, where is that depth going to come from? Are they going to hit? Are they going to slug enough? You saw last year that they were very station to station oriented. They didn't hit the ball out of the ballpark a ton. That kind of continued in this series. But again, 3 games, don't want to overreact. Tyler, were you discouraged? I mean, we just talked about the at-bats looked good.
Yeah. I came away more encouraged by the Astros offense. Those will land at some point. It's fine. Like we said, Christian Walker, 3 of those 5 outs that he made easily could have been singles or doubles. The ball that Jordan hit, I thought went 600 feet off the bat, and then it ended up a double. Jeremy Pena got a Crawford box special, which is fun, but it was good to see him rip one. They're going to be fine. When do we see the Yankees? When can we steal a bat of theirs? I think that'll solve most things. So maybe once we get one of the new Yankee bats, that'll help things out.
One of the things that I think everyone was worried is probably a strong word, but just maybe interested to see how it went, was the defense in the outfield. Was the 2 corner outfielders that are playing positions that they've never played before. Jose Altuve in left, Cam Smith in right, and then Zach DeCenzo played right field on Saturday. Again, Zach DeCenzo's played the outfield longer than those 2 guys, but still not a ton. Overall, Tyler, what did you think of the outfield, how they played? And specifically, look, we know Jake Myers is incredible and made a couple of really nice plays, but the 2 corner outfields, how do you think those 2 or 3 guys handled their positions?
I can't think of anything crazy, which is exactly what you want. I mean, Altuve had the one that he would have needed a ladder to catch off the Crawford boxes, but look, that's going to happen. It's okay. Nobody dropped the pop-up, which is really all you can ask for at this point. They didn't look like they were, overmatched out there. Again, I mean, they're not outfielders, so you can't hold them to too high of a standard just yet. They made the routine plays. They looked fine. And I like the Astros pitching strategy of just not allowing contact, which is going to limit a lot of the damage to your outfield if you just don't let anyone touch a baseball, which is what they did for the majority of the series. Before we move on from people panicking about no extra base hits, so Fangraphs has a hard hit percentage, and right now I've got it pulled up by team. So the whole team What's the percentage of hard hit? I will tell you the Phillies are in first at 48% of their contact is hard hit.
It's all
Where
that
would you
it's all that raw milk that Bryce Harper's
Oh,
drinking.
for sure. Where would you guess the Astros are?
They did hit a lot of balls hard. You said what are the Phillies percentage? Would you say it was?
Phillies are at 48%. The lowest, I'll tell you, is the Reds at 22%. So that gives you a where do you think the Astros are just rank wise in Major League Baseball?
I'd probably say at least top 10. I'd probably say like 7 or 8.
They're seventh, 42%. They're hitting the ball fine.
Yeah.
Calm down. It's 3
Yeah.
games. It's gonna be fine. They're
Yeah.
they're hitting the ball. They're seeing a lot of pitches. They look good. Pitching looked good. Which do you want to take the Josh Hader hate or me? Who wants to lead with that, and then I'll come in and yell at everyone who's upset with Hader.
I mean, I want to thank Josh Hader for opening day because that was a boring game.
That
Like
was fun at the end.
if you sat through the first 7.5 innings of that game, that was not fun to watch. That was, I mean, Fromber pitched fine, but like that was nowhere near Fromber's best stuff.
Yeah.
I think he only punched out 3 guys, like didn't get a ton of ground balls and toward the end. The lineup did not do much. There was a lot of just singles and sack flies and fielders' choices. It was not fun to watch. And then all of a sudden, Josh Hader comes in and Juan Soto's at the plate as the go-ahead run, and that was fun. That was some good stuff.
What an AB!
Yeah,
I watched that from the Rodeo Goat in East Downtown. I was there. My wife and I went to see Fred Armisen at the Secret Group. You're by the look on your face, you don't know who that is. That's
I've heard the name. I can't put the face. I can't put the face to the name.
You would know his face for sure. He did a show called Comedy for Musicians. Nothing has been more up my alley than a comedy show specifically for musicians. But anyway, we were at Rodeo Goat waiting for the show to start, so I watched it there. I mean, 95% of the people were wearing Astros gear, so that was pretty cool to just see everybody representing. But that slider was nasty that he struck out Soto on. Look, I don't know why people don't like Josh Hader. I don't get it. They don't. So I'm going to go back to Baseball Savant. They've got a squared up percentage. So it's kind of like barrels, good contact. There are 8 Astros pitchers that qualify for that. So someone has hit a ball off of them. Who do you think has the lowest percentage of squared up hits?
I'm going to guess Josh Hader.
Josh Hader, the lowest percentage. 15% of contact made off of him was squared up. He had some weird little, dribblers that came. He had some walks. He's fine. He's a really good pitcher. Chill out.
I mean, the Soto at bat was what everyone focused on, but like you got to tip your hat to Luis Angel Acuna, a rookie who went up there, and a 12-pitch walk against Josh Hader is not easy. I mean, he was fouling off good pitches, and that changed
just
the
pumping
entire
fastballs over and over and over. Yeah.
I mean, and let's also remember, like the first 2 singles of that inning, Josh Hader got to 2 strike counts, just couldn't get the slider. And he said this after the game, just couldn't get the slider down where he needed the chase. And then coincidentally, it was the slider that got Juan Soto because as Josh Hader kind of
was gross.
It was gross.
It was nasty.
How often do you see Juan Soto look that bad? Like he doesn't chase at all. And Josh Hader thinks it's because, look, those two have a lengthy history of facing each other. They were obviously teammates in San Diego for a bit, but Josh Hader, just thinking back to the past matchups with Juan Soto, he knew that Soto was going to be locked in on a fastball. He knew that he was sitting dead red on a fastball in that count, and he surprised him with a slider. And when you're that good and you surprise a guy that's that good, sometimes, the better pitch wins out. And That's what happened there. And then you saw yesterday, Juan Soto started off the inning against Hader. I don't want to say Hader pitched around him, but he certainly was not going to give him anything close to hit to tie that game. So he would have rather take his chances with Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo behind Soto. So again, like, you don't love to see the closer of your team throwing 35 pitches on opening day. He threw 25 pitches before he got an out, which was not ideal. But I do think it gets magnified a little bit, Tyler, because like there's not a ton of depth behind them now. Like Ryan Presley's gone. You're trusting a lot of guys like Brian King and Stephen Okert and guys that you hadn't heard of before spring training that are now in huge roles. And you need both Hader and Abreu to be nails. And while both of them got their jobs done this weekend, it was not a work of art from either guy. Brian Abreu was all over the place command wise. So look, they got the job done, but we also saw this last year. Both of these guys did not have good beginnings to last year, nor did Ryan Presley. So maybe that's just a thing where they've got to get into a better groove and get going quicker. But I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned about those two. What would concern me is the depth and the bridge leading to them. But it should be said, the bullpen pitched well. The bullpen pitched very well in this series. The only guys that you can look at and say maybe didn't pitch well are Hader and Abreu.
Yeah. And I mean, that's going to happen every once in a while. But like I said, for whatever reason, people think your late inning guys have to come in and strike out all three batters they face and carry a 0.5 ERA for the year. That's not how it works. Got the job done. Gonna be fine. Team looked good. Nothing concerned. There wasn't anybody that it was like, that's gonna be a problem. And again, baseball is it's a marathon, not a sprint. So a month from now, if Hader's still needing 30 pitches to get 3 outs, we can have that discussion. But he's not getting lit up. Mets are a good team. They spent $1 billion on their lineup in the offseason, and the Astros held them to 5 runs. So whatever frustration Astros fans have from the Astros lineup, I guarantee you the Mets are feeling it more because they spent a whole lot more and they did not get rid of 2 of their best players in the process. So I thought the team looked good. They're still obviously a very long way to go, but I thought they looked fine.
Let's get back to the outfield real quick before we get out of here. I have two main points. One, how hilarious was the first play Altuve made in left field on opening day?
Yeah, I thought he was about to go to the hospital. That was scary. It reminded me. Do you remember the Jimmy Paredes play? Probably
I remember
not.
Nothing about Jimmy Paredes.
So that was what, 2000.
I'm an Isak Paredes. I'm not a Jimmy Paredes stan.
So I think they were playing like the Pirates or something, and Altuve is backing up from second base, and Paredes just comes in like a missile from right field and just runs into Altuve. Altuve had to take like a week off after, and that's what I thought was. But I thought he and Myers were going to collide, and it was going to be rough. But no, he just made a play. He's a little goofball out there, and everything worked out. But I was definitely scared for a few seconds there.
Myers' entire like face and how he reacted to that, like, epitomized, I think, the entire fan base, because like he cut in front of it and Myers just like stopped, and it was just in like dumbfounded amazement, just like looking at Altuve cut in front of him, because look, Jake Myers, great human being, by the way. He's kind of, I don't want to say on edge, but he's the guy. He feels a lot of responsibility to make Altuve and Cam Smith, for that matter, like look good, to like be the guy that runs a bunch of stuff down, to over communicate, to have them in the right spots. And he said after the game, like, of course, in the first inning of the first game, of course, a play like that's going to happen. But Tyler, it kind of felt like it's fate. Like Altuve has to catch that ball, just given everything that we've talked about for 6 weeks, him moving to left field. Like there was going to be no other way for that to end than that ball being in Jose Altuve's glove.
Yep. And he caught it. So we're good. We're gonna move on and pretend it didn't happen. I heard he took ground balls before the last game. So is he gonna
Yeah, he
play
did.
against? He's gonna play second against the Giants. Maybe when they're on the road.
I think he's going to play against the Giants. I think he's going to play. I think he is going to play a game at second base against the Giants. And as I tweeted, please don't overreact to that. This weekend, this series was like ripe for overreaction as to why is Jose Altuve in left field, as if no one read or listened to any coverage of this team for the last 3 months. They were always going to do this. They need to play him at second every now and then to be able to get Alvarez in the left and open the DH spot for Christian Walker, for Yainer Diaz, for maybe Isaac Paredes. They've got a lot of guys they could DH, maybe Cam Smith. That's why they're going to do it like that. I would imagine that you see Jose Altuve at second base in one of the games, either Blanco or Wisniewski pitches. I don't think they want him at second base behind Framber Valdez because let's remember the reason Jose Altuve is not at second base anymore is because he's a bad defensive second baseman, as I have reiterated to so many people who are yelling at me in the last 3 days. So I think one of those two games you will see him at second base. You'll see Yordan Alvarez in left field, and you'll see someone other than those two guys DHing. That is, I think when they go on the road, I think he can handle Minnesota. I'm looking at the first 2 road trips. I think he can handle Minnesota's outfield. You're going to see Hunter Brown and Spencer Arrighetti pitching. If it stays in line, they're going to pitch in Minnesota. Hunter Brown's a ground ball guy. Playing Altuve in left field behind him seems all the more logical. Framber Valdez is going to pitch one of the games in Seattle. Playing Altuve in the outfield behind Framber Valdez, again, seems pretty logical. But this does get into something that we saw in the 2 games this weekend, that this is going to be a difficult decision Joe Espada has at the end of a lot of these games. So he made it pretty clear that if they have a lead in the 8th inning and he is going to Abreu and Hader, he's going to have no problem reconfiguring his outfield for defense because he needs to get these games won. And that resulted on Saturday in Jose Altuve exiting the game in the 9th inning. And that's a hard decision for anyone to make, to take him out of the lineup. His spot was 6. His spot in the lineup was 6 spots away. So if it would have gotten to the 9th inning, they would have, if Josh Hader would have given it up and they got to the 9th inning, it would have taken, a lot for that spot to come up in the batting order. So that's one reason why Joe Espada was probably okay with it. But also, in the first game of the season on opening day, he took Cam Smith out of right field, put Chas McCormick in right. It seems to me, and as we saw last night in the 9th inning, that they think their best defensive outfield with the roster that they have is Dubon in left, Myers in center, McCormick in right. That's what was in the 9th inning last night in a 1-run game with Josh Hader facing Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, and Brandon Nimmo. Like, there is never a higher leverage spot than that. It's going to be more difficult for Joe Espada to make that work going forward. And it's going to be something that I think a lot of fans are going to have to kind of embrace a little bit, that there's going to be times when Jose Altuve gets pulled from a game, and relievers are human. If Josh Hader gives it up in the 9th, like, you may go into extra innings without Jose Altuve available. You may go into extra innings without Cam Smith available, without Zach DeZenzo available. But I think this also underscores, Tyler, why the Astros constructed their roster the way they did. Do you know the 2 guys that Joe Espada still had in his back pocket last night on the bench if that game went extra innings?
Cam Smith, he's pretty good.
And Yainer Diaz.
Also pretty good.
I mean, those are 2 excellent options to send up to hit in those situations. Obviously, Diaz probably more so than Cam Smith. We don't want to overhype Cam Smith after 3 games. I know you do.
Speak for yourself.
Right. But it's going to take some getting used to, I think, Tyler, that there's going to be a lot of late game maneuvering as Joe Espada gets his outfield ready to go and gets it better. It's always surprising to see Jose Altuve taken out of a game, but I think, again, this speaks to his selflessness, that I mean, he could very easily say, like, I want to stay in. Like, you're not pulling me in the ninth inning. And he just said, you know what? He wants what's best for the team. And I think, again, that is something that get a guy with everything he has accomplished and his status and stature in the city, like, this is not normal, the amount of selflessness and team first you're seeing from him.
Yeah, it was a good opening weekend. It was fun around the league. I watched a ton of baseball. You probably didn't. Well, I don't know. Did you see that MLB TV went down for like the first hour of opening day, which is not ideal?
And then I got like their mea culpa, their like apology email was basically like, you can have, I think it was, you can have 10% off of anything you buy in our store, but it has to be at least a $30 purchase.
Okay.
So nothing for actually free, but please
you
go
get
buy
$3 off
a
jersey from somewhere. What were the top jerseys you saw walking around? Who'd you see the most of? I mean, I assume it's still a million Altuve jerseys, but I saw a lot of people in the new City Connect stuff already. Those things look cool.
A lot of City Connects, a lot of Altuve, a lot of Alvarez. I did not see it. Usually you can spot a couple Correas, you spot a couple Bregmans, just people that have those left over. Those were not seen anywhere. I did not see a ton of those, but yeah, mainly Altuve, mainly Alvarez. Saw a few Cam Smiths here and there. The hype train is very far.
Speaking of
trains.
Yeah, how'd it look?
I mean, I don't know. Like it looks like they just painted the oranges like into baseballs.
Do you think they did? Do you think they're new ones?
No, because they're selling the oranges.
What?
You can go like buy like
how much?
I guess Jim Crane needs more money. I don't know.
We should get one.
Well, I'm good. They wouldn't take my money.
Tell Foul Territory we need one. What do these things cost? I need a giant orange.
I don't know, but they had them like I saw like people were taking pictures of them. Like they had them like behind.
Oh, they're like in the store?
I think it was like in one of the concourses.
Oh, that rules.
But like
what?
But like you can tell, like I mean, like they were like the paint was chipped and like
they're 25 years old.
They just hacked them off and just put them in. It's like you can go buy the oranges if you want. So
yeah, okay, yeah, there we go. That's what this is the kind of last time I was at a game up in the I don't know what restaurant is there now, but it's where in the like third deck up by the Jumbotron up there. They have like the Authentics stuff. They have a bunch of baseballs, like game used baseballs. Let's see if I can find it. Is this it? Hold on, let me see if it's it. Oh, nope, this is just my Nolan Ryan signed ball. I got one somewhere that was just like a 1-2 slider that Verlander threw to Jose Ramirez. It was like $20. It's like, dude, those are probably 2 Hall of Famers. I think it would cost more to just buy a new baseball. I couldn't believe that it was that cheap. Everybody go check that out. I spent a good amount of time just looking at all of the game used baseballs that they had up there.
Real quick before we get out, can we talk about Cam Smith throwing Juan Soto's first home run as a Met, throwing the ball back into the stands? Like the
man of the people.
Like he probably made some, because there was a lot of Mets people in right field. I think he actually threw it into like a crowd of Mets fans. Aside from like making those people's day, like if they go sell that thing, like that ain't worth $20. That's worth like maybe 4 times that.
Cam Smith's not making a lot of money. I would have pocketed that and put it up myself. Probably make more than he made this weekend.
I mean, like with the amount of tickets he had to give out, Cam Smith probably played for free this weekend with the amount of family, with the amount of just people that came to see him and the tickets he had to leave. He probably played for free this weekend.
And you don't get paid at spring training, right? So he's got to be in the red at this point.
I would imagine. So maybe they need to start contract extension talks now. Get him a little more money in his pocket after he played for free this weekend. He will not be playing for free for the rest of the season. He will be making the league minimum, which Jim Crane really likes. Other players that are making more than the league minimum will have to carry this offense a little bit better than they did this past weekend. But all in all, a very encouraging opening weekend for the Astros, who take 2 of 3 from the New York Metropolitans and welcome in the San Francisco Giants for a 3-game set beginning on Monday. And
JV Day? What day is JV Day?
JV Day was yesterday, Saturday. He will not pitch against the Astros at Dyken Park.
Cowards.
I don't know. Are they going to give him a tribute video? Like, he already got one when he was at the Mets, and then they traded for him. So, I mean, knowing Crane, they may trade for him again in July. So just hold off on the tribute video, I think. So he will not pitch. Logan Webb will on. I believe it's the second game of the series. If you enjoy watching Framber Valdez pitch, tune in to watch Logan Webb pitch. They are the exact same person. A lot of sinkers, a lot of ground balls. You're going to see Jordan Hicks, I believe, is going to start the opener. A second consecutive series opener started by a converted reliever. But Jordan Hicks throws 100, so he's fun. Other than that, you'll see who's on the Giants. Oh, Matt Chapman, Willie Adames, very good defensive infield. You'll see a lot of it'll be I think a little bit of a step down maybe in superstar talent, but certainly a formidable club coming in the Giants and Crush City territory. We will be there to analyze it. We'll come back to you during the series with some of our thoughts. Josh Reddick will join us on Friday as the Astros have an off day in Minneapolis after playing the Twins in their home opener. Josh Reddick will be with us on Friday, so we'll get his take on the first 7 or 8 games that he has seen from the Astros. And as always, guys, if you want to know when we go live, when we post another episode, please subscribe on YouTube to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel. Rate and review us on Apple. Let us know if you like it. Give us 5 stars. It really helps our reach and helps us get out there. So again, Astros go 2-1 in their season opening series against the New York Mets. Only 159 more to go. They're on pace to win 108 games. So surely everything will go as planned. And if it doesn't, we'll be here to talk to you. Thanks, guys.
Bye.